Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show, a weekly podcast, except for when we take a week off like last week, where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me once again, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey-ya!
Hey-ya! Yes. Today we basically took last week off because between a work trip that I had and just the fact that both of us had pretty much only been playing Tears of the Kingdom, we didn't really have a ton to discuss. Wanted to give it another week before we kind of dive into more of the, we're not going to do spoiler stuff in here with our updated Tears of the Kingdom thoughts. Definitely not like story spoiler stuff. But just kind of now that we're a couple weeks into the game, we're going to kind of share our updated thoughts on it. Neither of us have finished the game yet, as I understand it. Cameron, probably storyline wise, is further ahead than me, but that's largely because I'm reserving all the story stuff for when I record our Let's Play stuff, and that's just harder to do when Cameron's not at work. But I've been doing a lot of the shrines and stuff, so we've probably got a pretty mixed bag of having seen a lot of this game. So yeah, we're gonna discuss that. But a little bit of housekeeping first. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. So Cam, we checked in on this a little bit before we started recording, but kind of give a sense of where you're at, how many shrines have you done, what have you done on the temple front, kind of, again, avoiding story spoilers, but we will be talking about the game in probably pretty general terms. So if you, for whatever reason, still haven't hopped into Tears of the Kingdom, and you want to go in completely blind and have been avoiding things on the internet, this is also a podcast you should probably avoid. But yeah, we won't dive into the narrative structure of the game or anything like that, and the story beats. But yeah, Cam, kind of where are you at with Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah, I am pretty far into the game as far as story content goes. I'm pretty sure, last time we talked and I mentioned it, I was I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close to the end game at this point. I have to do the one thing and then the final thing will open up for me.
You mean the last time you and I talked just off mic?
Yeah, off mic. Yeah,
okay.
Even then.
Because I was going to say, we last talked on mic 2 weeks ago about this.
I will say that actually led me down further into it. This game has a lot more than I was expecting. This game, Tears of the Kingdom, I think might be just from my an updated thing about it. I'm pretty far into the game as far as story content goes. I have the Master Sword. I have unlocked a lot of I'm finding myself going around doing a lot of, instead of focusing on shrines and stuff, I'm focusing a lot on alternative upgrades, whether it's the Zonai well charges or the trying to scope out. I'm a big map complete. I like to have open maps. And so the underground has been extremely adventurous for me.
Yeah, I get on that front. Both of us have unlocked the full Hyrule map.
Yeah. The top, all 3 levels of Hyrule's map we've unlocked all of those.
Yeah, and then so you've done a lot more in the depths. It sounds like.
Yes.
I've definitely opened up a lot of the depths and gone and found a lot of those routes, but there's definitely big swatches where I just haven't even been yet.
I have probably 2/4 of the depths map really unveiled. I'm mostly and there's some parts of it that you can't get to until further on in the story. That the depths are there are parts of the depths that are walled off from anything else. And it's really brilliantly done. The way that this entire world is structured, it was they're the biggest complaint, of course, last time around with Breath of the Wild was, oh yeah, Hyrule's massive, but there's few and far between the things to do in that world. And hunting down 500 Koroks, every nook and cranny of that place is
900 in that,
yeah.
And there are 1,000 in this one I saw today. So
yeah, but the thing about it is,
a lot of those are you can get 2 for 1 basically when you help a Korok find his friend and all that stuff. But it's still there's still a million things in this game to find. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. One thing that I like about it though is they're hey, just finding Koroks is just kind of oh, I pop open a rock. A Korok is there. It's kind of dumb. Instead, let's go ahead and have you like almost on their own sort of like mini shrine puzzle type stuff where it's like, yeah, figure out how to get this Korok from here to there. You can do it the laborious way of like
ultra hand
ultra
carrying
handing
him,
it and
which
carrying it.
is what I do a lot of the time.
I mean, yeah,
I'm like, I weigh, okay, how long is it going to take me to build something? Like to build a Zonai contraption to move him there versus how long is it going to take me to just like walk him over there?
Yeah. I have saved in my Zonai contraptions. Like I've saved the blueprint or like the layout of a. I think spoiler
to that point, yeah,
yeah.
we both have all of the abilities, including
unlocked,
the auto build ability.
Yeah, auto build. Auto build is one of my more interesting ones. I did not favorite things early on, and so I was like angry and upset because I was like missing things that I was like, oh no, I wanted to save that, and I kept on forgetting to it. But now I have like like I have my go tos.
So far, I've only been using like the pre-built schematics I've found, and I've found a good chunk of those.
I have my underground mine bus, or the underground bus that I call it, because I take the big fat long slab, attach 4 big wheels to it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the light, because the Zonai light contraption only shoots front ways.
Yeah.
So I always throw a light bulb on it, and then it just like 360. Sure.
Yep.
And that's what I use for that.
I do both, but yeah.
I have to be careful because if I'm off the cart when I throw the bulb, it will activate the cart and run me over.
I just shoot it like while I'm standing on the cart. Yeah.
Yeah, I started doing that. Because I was doing it before I would get on the cart to start moving it.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, last touch, finishing touch. Oh wait, no, wait, hold up, don't run me over. Especially when I tried to experiment with like a spike block in front of it, that went poorly. Yeah, I have that for my underground traversal. I have my go-to flight contraption.
Before we dive into contraption stuff, I just want to let's wrap up the what all how many shrines have you done? Where you at?
Sorry about that. I got lost down the rabbit hole.
We'll definitely dive into like favorite things we've built and that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I think. Oh, so I've you asked me before. I finished 49 shrines. I've cleared the 4 catastrophes that are currently going on, and the 4 regional catastrophes. I finished some additional stuff that unlocks after you finish those catastrophes, so I'm further along in the main story quest. And I'm pretty far into it. I'm to a point where if I said it, they would know, but that's also a spoiler. So.
Yeah, and you've also found all the tiers.
I found all the tiers. I've done basically the Master Sword related quest lines, the tiers, the Master Sword itself, as well as like a few other things. I have been trying to take down like massive map enemies. That's been a thing that I've been
challenge you're doing now. Yeah,
the challenge that I'm in the middle of.
I found one of those like temple bosses that you can like fight just in the depths. I found my first one of those that you mentioned off when we were talking the other day.
Yeah, one thing I love about that is that it's like, man, I really wonder what that fight could have been like if I had like my full creativity, like my full suite of creative stuff that I could have used in that fight, instead of like kind of the more scripted type fight that you have in the boss arenas. And this gives you the opportunity to do that. And it's like I fought one boss the kind of like way that I fought him the first time around, the water temple boss. I faced him kind of very similarly to the way that I did before. Then I took on the lightning temple boss, and I did it just with a vehicle, and I had a grand old time, just like driving around and like just nailing them with stuff. And I'm like, yes, this is the way, because I hated that boss. The lightning temple boss sucks.
That's the one I've not seen yet. So I've done 3 of the temples. I've done water, wind, and fire. Lightning is the next on my docket to like head over to the Gerudo territory and all that stuff. I've done 84 shrines. I have 18 hearts. I just finished upgrading my stamina wheels. I'm fully upgraded with 3 stamina wheels.
Nice.
I have 4 full energy wells, so like 12 charges basically. So I'm like halfway full on that. And like 28 side quests is the other set I have in there. So yeah, that's kind of like, because I'm limited in like forward momentum on the story stuff, I'm out there seeking out shrines and doing all that kind of stuff.
The energy well stuff, I know I am I have 6 full batteries.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm past the half point.
Yeah, I'm also like I can easily get more at the moment. Like I have plenty of like Zonite ore in my reserves, and it's just a matter of like trading it in for the Zonite charges to then trade it in for the.
It can get
like,
pretty tedious because you have to wait real life time between when the stores restock for it, and so like you have to wait for them to, because they literally will do it one by one. So like you do have to bounce around a bit. I'm usually just like burning through Zonite, buying as many as I can from different stores. That I've taken a break to that, kind of like replenish my Zonite store. Not going very well because I keep on being like, screw this, build a contraption.
You just want to build with using the Zonite. Yeah, that's
it's bit me in the rear a bit more often recently than I would have liked. To the point where like I've now stocked up on like parts, so it's no longer as expensive to build the things I want. I will say, so when it comes to shrines wise, I'm further behind than you.
Oh yeah, and I've also I've probably done half, maybe a little more than half of the tiers. I've not done all of them yet.
Yeah. The tiers I like a lot. And
I mean, like the tiers, much like the memories from the first game, are the story. That's where you get the narrative. I still have issues with like that structure because you find those in any order, and oh, hey, I found the last one, and I've seen like this going around online. Like depending on the order you find these things in, you will find a story spoilery thing like very early on or something like that. And it's like, well, I guess that happened. Okay, I'm going to now have to like find the ones that lead up to that to see how that happened and all that stuff.
The one you just found that you told me about, that was the third one I found.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that like I found the ones after that, like well before I found this one. So yeah, it's like it's just a problem I had with the memory structure of the first one and this one. It's like I don't like that. I like, while I applaud the like, oh, you can do whatever you want to do, go explore the world and find things in whatever order you want to find. From a narrative stance, that doesn't work. Like finding chapter 13 of a book and like seeing that before you've read the rest of them is like, well, okay, that's like not the strongest narrative structure that it could be.
I think you're right on that. This is definitely a point that we've had agreement on. The story structure from the last game was a problem for both of us. You more than I, but still to the point where I liked the memories you got. I did not like the tracking down. Oh, well, this is the area, because some of them were very much like not easily identifiable.
Yeah.
And unless you knew, oh, well, it's because the shrine, like this thing right here is part of the cutscene. It's like, great. I didn't know that because I wasn't like searching for that. I was searching for like a landmark.
Well, you're searching for a landmark thing, and because you don't know the cutscene for Breath of the Wild, you don't know the cutscene until you find that landmark kind of thing. But I think like, I mean, having just replayed them, like all of the images are like unique things. There's something in either the foreground or the background of a shot to give a good sense of like ballpark. You can find this based off of like the geography and the environments and stuff like that. Some of them are still going to be harder, and like you will have to have explored a good chunk of the game to, I mean, it's basically like, I think it's also the same in this, where it's like there's one in pretty much every map region. So it's a matter of like, okay, have I found the one in this map region yet? No. Okay, let me like try.
But it's easy. It's easy to they're easier to find, I think, because
I mean, yes, the geoglyphs are much easier to identify. There are a couple that are like hidden, and like you'll only see them if you're like looking at a specific angle, kind of thing, from a specific sky area. But yes, they're obviously easier to identify.
And there are a few that are just like very large, and you're like, wait, but so where is the teardrop?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's where the challenge kind of comes into it.
There's definitely one I found early on, and then I didn't find the teardrop, and I thought like it was the second one I would have found basically. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, maybe I needed to go like actually progress that quest before I was going to be able to find more.
I had that same
and then I was like, nope, I still need to go back to that one to basically unlock whatever that memory was. Yeah. But I will say to another point that you brought up that was one of my big sticking points of the first game as well. was Breath of the Wild is a largely empty world.
Yeah.
And this game definitely addressed that frustration in spades.
Oh yeah,
like
there's so much to do.
Yeah, there have been like one or two places I've gone through where I'm like, oh, I'm not really finding like much to do here, like in a forest or in like the jungle areas on like the southern part of the map or something like that.
I was just in the Farron region. I had that same thought, and then I went skyward for that quest that you do, and it's like, oh, never mind. It's like, yeah, there's not much going on. Why don't you look up?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that place has a ton going on in the sky.
Yeah. So yeah, the sheer amount of stuff to do in this, and even if it is like, you know, the incredibly dumb stuff, like helping the guy with the sign everywhere in the world, like he's at least everywhere in the world, so that it's not, okay, let me go walk a half mile and encounter nothing. I'm going to run across him a couple times on the road from like one stable to another or something.
I do love that. It's like, I'm like, okay,
challenges.
Yeah, just wide open field, and then all of a sudden you see just a guy struggling to hold up a sign. You're like, we're in the middle of nowhere, dude.
All right, Addison, I got your back.
Yeah.
Let's build this.
Let's get this taken care of real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that is a great addition to the like Korok seed thing. The addition of like wells is a fun like extra thing to explore. The wells and the caves that are so much more prevalent in this, and then yeah, obviously the, you know, having the sky stuff and the depths and the sky stuff. Even I will say, like, when I went around and kind of like unlocked all of the towers first, and so I got like a clear view of like everything. It's like there's a lot of open air in the sky, but there's still like enough up there that that I know I haven't done anything. And especially there's like a lot of stuff that is like super far out, so you're not going to be able to like get it until you have either more stamina or until you build something that will help you get to those far ends of the earth, kind of thing.
And sometimes there's just some like random islands with some like loot there that's just like, oh hey, cool, like this place is like exists solely for the purpose of it has a gacha dispenser for you.
Yep.
I'm like, I like that. I like that it's like, hey, yeah, in the middle of this area, we just have one up here. And I'm like, that's cool. And then you can build your thing and then fly the rest of the way. There's a lot of things that are going on. Have you encountered the Trials of Bravery yet? Or the Trials of Courage, rather?
Trials of Courage. Are those with the skydiving thing where you jump through the rings? Yes, I've done 2 of those.
Okay, so you have 2 of the.
I've got 2 of the flight suit things.
Yeah, I just unlocked all 3 pieces of the flight suit. I had the pants for a while. I did all 3 of them. I love it. You go so fast through the air.
Yeah.
It's great. For that aerial traversal, I'm really excited. My next step is I'm going to be exploring a lot of the archipelagos, because that's a fun thing too. They're like, oh yeah, we have floating islands. Yeah, they're archipelagos. We have they have their full on whole like set up the way that they're all interconnected. The one above Farron is like super intricate, and I love that aspect of it. Also, I love it whenever there's just like some railing for like minecart stuff, and it's like, cool. I'm just gonna skate. I'm just skating for like the next like 5 minutes. I'm just skating. That's all I'm doing.
I keep a minecart on a shield, like in my inventory, just for that. If I encounter those kinds of things,
I found one that I was upset. It was a shrine actually. Sorry, it was a shrine, and it was like do the cart thing, and it's like I don't have to use these like the cart pulley mechanism or whatever. I have the minecart shield.
Yeah,
and the last one made me use their balance and like balance scaffolding system.
Yeah.
And I was so furious the entire time.
Yeah,
because I'm just like, I hate this.
That's the one I think I've probably seen like the most people sharing how they solved that shrine on Twitter and stuff. And it's like it's fascinating because I've not seen any like 2 people do it the same way.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too, is that the I read an interview actually with the director of the game. And he talked about the like fear at Nintendo of making a game this wild as far as like player creative aspects of it. It's like there was a lot of apprehension because like how do you give people a world that they can literally just do whatever they want? And like sure enough, we have seen
the first things we saw people doing, making robots with flaming dicks,
and
crucifying Koroks,
or The one that they put the hydrant on it. On
I've not seen that. But yeah, like I've seen like I've seen like the Metal Gear.
The Metal Gear one was really cool.
I saw one that was like somebody created basically a bomber. They took 6 of the wings and put them together, so it's just like a giant wing, and then threw like a whole bunch of cannons on the bottom with like homing beacons and stuff like that. It's like, yep, they just built a B-52 bomber and were raining fire down upon like a string of goblins.
Please tell me Fortunate Son was playing on those clips.
I don't know. I mean, it was definitely playing some like, not like Flight of the Valkyries or anything like that, but it was definitely playing like some kind of like wartime music. Yeah.
Right now, my favorite. I will stop for every single video that plays Fortunate Son with a bombing run in Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. The Tears of the Kingdom were like Tears of the Sun. But
sure.
Vietnam War movie humor. Anyway, I love it. I'm loving the creativity aspect of it. It actually funny if it reminds me a lot of early Minecraft days where people were just sharing the things they made.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, on that boat, like, so now we can circle back to like
Sure.
the favorite things you've created or saved. Yeah, like I said, I've not enjoyed anything I've built enough that I'm like, I'm gonna favorite this and keep it on hand. There have been a couple things where I was like, I should have done that, but I didn't. One in particular for me was I built, so I got like the homing construct head kind of thing, and I attached a beam emitter on one side and a cannon on the other side, and I put that on a stabilizer, so it just like stayed upright and like turned its head and was shooting a laser beam and cannon at a row of bokoblins that were like walking down the road kind of thing. And I was like, this is taking out most of these guys and doing all the work for me. Love it. And then like on a simpler thing, I was like, you know what? I don't use these beam emitters nearly enough. So I threw one on a shield and basically have that as like all right, if I'm going to block a shield, it's also going to shoot a laser beam at you.
There you go. I did that for a while. I did that with also like the lightning,
the shock emitter.
The shock emitter. Yeah. I did that with the fire. I've now moved away from like status effect shields, and I'm more into durability based shields. Mm-hmm. So like which shields pair best with durability is what I've kind of like been looking into. Like which give like depending on which shield is the base for the fusion determines a lot of the aspects of its effects and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like how like the end, it's like, yeah, like this is a great shield, but if I add it on top of a weaker shield, it's actually even better than it would be on its own. And then if I put the weaker shield on top of it as of this one as the base, it's actually weaker overall. Like finding the mathematic kind of like balance between getting the best durability out of it, because between my shield surfing just whenever the hell I want to, and also I am like, if I'm one-handing a sword, like I'm using the one-handed weapons, I have my shield out all the time. It's a habit I picked up when I I was running around with like 2 full stamina bars and like 3 hearts. Because I'm a dumbass.
Yep.
Yeah, to this point, like also as a side note, like Trevor hears me swear all the time now because now I have way more hearts, but I still get one shot by things, and it pisses me the hell off.
Yeah. And we like I'll also say we also both have been using amply my my amiibo cards to like keep ourselves fully stocked, like trading off. So yeah, like I'm running around with like a strong Zonite shield that's fused to a strong Zonite shield, so it's basically like
double Zonite shields. Yeah.
Double Zonite shield. It has not broken in the last 6 hours I've been playing with it, so it seems to be doing just fine.
Yeah, the Zonites are obviously like the best as far as like anything you base.
Yeah, I mean,
them.
like anything, like the Zonite stuff obviously replaces all of the Guardian stuff, and I tend to try and keep that stuff in my inventory and or equipped for when a lightning storm strikes, and I'm like, I don't want to get struck by lightning. Although I do have like the lightning resistant helmets and stuff now, so I could just swap those on and be like, all right, I am gonna run. Bring it on, lightning. What do you got?
Yeah, I actually have like the gear that like I'm both immune to lightning and it like powers up my attacks.
Nice.
And you get it from a story quest, like the main progression of the story quest line. Running around with it, it's awesome. because I was like running around in the storm and getting like struck by lightning, but all it was doing was like powering me up and making me stronger. And I was up on the sky and I was just being struck by lightning, and it was just like, because eventually as you hit people after you've been charged with lightning and electricity, you shoot like you do like one of those shock blobs, like the kind of like shockwave they do. You do that.
Nice. And
it's awesome. And it's like I'm so powerful, and then all of a sudden I'm not in any lightning, and all of a sudden it's like this armor's really weak. I can't be wearing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess also I've done 2 of the Great Fairies.
I've also done 2 of the Great Fairies at this point.
Yeah, I still need to go. Like, I'm still looking for the flautist, and then I've found the trumpet, and I just need to do his thing.
I am looking for the drum guy. I know he's like north of Sheikah Village. I know where he's at.
Yeah, he's north of Kakariko.
Kakariko, sorry. Yeah, he's north of Kakariko Village.
He's pretty easy to find. I mean, you'll hear him drumming if you just walk out and go north. Yeah, you'll come across him.
I know I can. That was not a prerogative for me at that point.
Yeah,
I was actually trying to do the Penn's journalism quests.
Oh yeah.
Those are.
I've done like half of those, half the stable quests.
I've done like half the stable quests as well. My favorite one so far is the Dueling Peaks one, where you get
I know I've done that one.
It's the Yiga clan. Princess Zelda's in a cage.
Yeah,
and you like pull the cage off of her, and they're like, "You're so strong, and you're a blonde swordsman. You must be Link." It's like great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Humor wise in this, I think the humor is landing super well in this game. Just kind of like the audacity, like one. A lot of the people already know Link, and so it's not like a weird cryptic thing or like weird thing that's obviously like if you were the sacred swordsman, that would be like everybody knows you're the hero of Hyrule.
Yeah,
it's just like you're here. By the way, can you help me gather the things around my farm? I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very much enjoying the continuity between especially since Breath of the Wild is so fresh in my memory, and I did so many of the side quests in there. Like there are definitely like side quests in this game that are just like, hey, like the guy in Hiteno Village who is like, hey, please go talk to this crush of mine and find out what she wants, and she's just like, oh, what does he want to know what I want? I want 100 of this random thing. And you go back to the guy, he's like, 100, that's a lot. Well, I'll start getting them. Can you find like 10 for me? And it's basically like the exact same quest in Tears of the Kingdom, just with like a different person. And there's like, I've found a few of those that are just like, all right, you just very much swapped from like the thing you had me do last time to a different thing, but it's the exact same person and the exact same like quest kind of thing. But I will say like it is fun.
Isn't that the in couple? Aren't they married now at this point?
I mean, like in the first game, it was like you're going and talking to the person at the inn. I mean, there's definitely, maybe they are, and maybe I just am not remembering their names in particular. But there are definitely like there's definitely another person in Hiteno that is like, hey, do that exact same thing with the girl from the general store.
Yes,
it's like okay,
because he accosts you after he sees you talking to her. From the general store. He goes, well, like, why are you talking to her and stuff? And it's like, okay. And then immediately right after that, I was doing a quest for the mushroom fashionista. Cece. I was handing out mushrooms like as part of her campaign thing, and talked to the guy, and the guy's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, no, I don't really care for it, but my wife's all about the latest fashions, so thanks. I'll give it to her later." It's like, and then it clicked for me. I was like, "Wait a minute, you guys got married? You're the dude who maybe go find like 10 different kinds of bugs." Like,
restless crickets in the
restless crickets. Like, what the heck? Like, you guys got married? You suck. But no, they're actually.
I don't know, good for him.
No, good for him. Like, they were really nice. Also, he's like super supportive of her and her wanting to like stay on the latest fashion trends and stuff. And he's just like, yeah, I don't really care about it, but I support my wife 100%. And it's like, cool.
So yeah, like I am appreciating the like those characters that did carry over game to game, and it is like interesting seeing so many like familiar names, and obviously like so many of your allies that you find throughout the game are people who were somewhat prominent characters from the first game, so it's cool seeing like growth and continuation, because it's not typically a thing we get from Zelda games.
All, no.
Like you had maybe seeing some people pop up in Majora's Mask after Ocarina of Time, but
they were like
by and large
alternative versions of their Ocarina of Time themselves, which is also Nintendo reusing assets.
So here at least I appreciate that they're like the same people. like seeing Picongo out there painting after having found him plenty of times in the first one. I do you mentioned Penn, the your Rito journalist buddy that you find at the various stables. I do miss that he has basically replaced Cass, who was like the one who played the accordion in the first one. I'm like, where's Cass? Why have I not encountered him anywhere?
I mean, that's a good question. I think he would have been a great addition for like if you had like him doing kind of like a pseudo quest line in the skies.
Yeah,
like that could have been cool to like give you more emphasis on, because Kaz was really great about getting you to go to shrines.
Yeah, he was. I mean, yeah, he was basically associated with a shrine quest in every area, where it's like, hey, here's the clue to find this shrine. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I mean, it's definitely like fun, but then there are things that I weirdly miss, which I did not think I was going to be missing.
Let's address the biggest issue that you and I both had with the original Breath of the Wild: durability.
Oh yeah,
issue.
I mean,
how do you largely feel about fusing? I've found that fusing is a great mitigator for the issues that I've had before in the past with it. The idea of like corrosion, so you don't have like I got a really cool weapon. Well, I don't really want to use it because I don't want it to like the durability to wear out on. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate the idea that it's all weapons suck. Fuse them to make them decent.
Yeah, I think the corrosion is and the decay is like an interesting idea that they should have basically introduced in the first game to explain 100%. Why everything breaks.
100%.
Because the issue I have with it in this game is you can still find things that aren't corroded, but they break. I mean, they have a little bit more durability to them, but they still break. So I still have my issues with that. But much like I found in my Breath of the Wild replay, like having the amiibo cards and being able to just like load myself up on 20 chests worth of stuff every day. I'm like, I'm not running into a place where I'm, empty of weapons and stuff. It ends up much more being like a matter of like, all right, I open a chest. This is here's a thing. Pretty much all of my weapons are fused. So can I use this to be a better thing than any of my like fused stuff or not? So it's still like, it's still dumb. I still don't like weapon durability, but it's not ruining the experience or anything like that this time around because I've like found my own workarounds largely. And yeah, Fuse I guess plays into that a little bit. I definitely do not experiment as much with Fuse as it sounds like you do.
Oh, I experiment with it a lot.
I'm largely like, I've got a soldier's broadsword or something like that, and I've opened a chest that's a boomerang. All right, do I want to let me go ahead and grab the boomerang and then fuse the soldier's broadsword to that, so I can throw the boomerang and it just has that extra sword on it to give it a little bit of attack boost. Or I do. I mean, I try and always make sure I've got hammers and axes on hand just for when I come across boxes or tree enemies that need to be cut down, or mining stuff. And a lot of times it's like, all right, what do I have that will make for a good version of that? And then beyond that, it's just like, all right, what can I mix and match to get the highest strength number on a lot of this stuff?
For me, the biggest thing about me is the aesthetics of it. I don't like weapons that just put the weapon on the end of the other weapon.
I don't care.
I know you don't care. That bothers me on a level because I'm like, I just don't like that. But what I love though is when the perfect materials work with the best, with the type of weapon it is, that it totally changes up the look. One of my favorite things is Lizardos's horns being attached to just about anything, but on swords in particular, it turns the sword into a completely different looking weapon. And I love that aspect of it, whether it's the single one or the long one. Also same with Bogoblin horns.
Yeah, goblin horns. There's Lizalfo's tails, kind of turn your weapon into a little bit of a whip.
I have not experimented with those actually. I've been saving those for mostly for potions or selling. But I did not know that you could do that with the Lizalfo's tails. That's cool. I'll have to experiment more with that.
Yeah, I believe so. The Lizalfos as their own attack, shoot out their tongue at you. Yeah. It kind of acts like that, where it's you'll swing and it will extend out.
That's super cool. I'll have to check that out because I love taking there's a silver Lizalfos that's horn. If you attach it to something, it's a scythe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really cool. But one of my favorites that I ever had was I had a great sword that I attached a Mogoblin's like double axe, like a black Mogoblin, which
Mm-hmm.
has like the
The
double
horn,
axe
yep.
head.
Yep.
I had that, and so I had it on a heavy thing, and I just have this massive freaking axe that had insane durability on it.
Yeah, that's really what I should be doing a lot more of, because like I do have a lot of those items, and like those monster parts are easily more like fuse friendly and will make stronger weapons than me just throwing two swords together.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me, is like I've loved the appreciation of it. The thing I hate though is that like if you turn a sword, anything that's going to turn into a club or hammer or axe, it just sticks on the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that. So I've aesthetically like matched the weapons with the items that can be used for them, and that's what I use them with now. I love it so much. They're so cool. I love the aspect of it. I love spears especially because you can turn them into you attach like club ends to them, and it becomes I forgot what the weapon is called, but it's essentially like this cudgel that you just like that you or not cudgel, like this like friggin' just like just I don't even know what to call it. It's a specific type of weapon, but it's so cool because it's super durable and you shove it into people's faces. So you have like that long reach to it as well, and not that long wind up that you get with most clubs.
Yeah, that is the weakness that I'm finding increasingly is it just takes too long to get the swing off on my two-handed weapons. I need to be doing more one-handed weapon that I attach a two-handed weapon to for strength, but it's still one-handed in my hand.
The most effective thing I've found with heavy weapons like that, with like great swords and whatnot, is great swords are great for disarming people actually.
Yeah,
because it just takes two swings to disarm them, and if you can't use your shield, so you'll have to rely on your dodge, which makes and there's a lot more of a giving room with heavy weapons to do a dodge, like a cancel that with a dodge, to then like do that with. But if you commit to the attack, it will follow through on you. You do get hurt that way. I died a lot when I had 3 hearts because I was using two-handers especially. One thing I loved about that though is that it made me be more creative about when I was doing my strikes. So I always entered with either a running strike or a jump and flip.
Yep.
Because the shockwave you get will also hit behind you. So even if you jump over them with the hit, it still hits them.
Yeah.
And it will stun them pretty much almost no matter what. And that's great because then you can wind up, do your 2 swings, disarm them. They're going to be scrambling to try to get their weapon back, and you can just take out more. And also you displace them as well. It's great. And then if you also have like your buddies with you, dude, sometimes everybody just goes off at once on one enemy, and we just all just gang up on a dude and just absolutely ruin his day. And it's the best.
I've definitely run into issues now with so many allies running around, which is probably the most spoilery thing we're talking about. But like the fact that they're all connected to the same button prompt as picking stuff up.
It is a problem.
There have been a couple times where I've gone to pick up a bomb flower, and instead I've shot somebody into that bomb flower and blown myself up.
Yep.
So I was like, oops. Fuck. But
yep. Also, when they're all grouped together and you want just one person's ability and you can't differentiate it, you have to try to do that. It sucks.
Yeah.
I had a really hard time fighting the water temple boss the second time because I was trying to use that ally's ability, and he was just constantly just not by my side. It was really annoying.
Yeah.
And so I think that for that aspect of it, it's really troublesome that you can't just have it attached to a button like you did with the blessings in the last game.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating on that level.
Indeed, yeah. But still, I mean, there's still a lot of fun to be had.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'm trying to think any other key items or topics or anything we want to discuss. Anything jumping to mind for you?
I'm trying to think.
Talk like story stuff. We talked.
I will say if you've been listening to this and just kind of enjoying it, and you're yeah, I think I might want to hop into it. Take Trevor's advice that I did not take initially, which was go do Robbie, like get to Robbie's quest stuff as soon as possible, because the additional abilities you get from the Purapad are just worth their weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. The like obviously the first Robbie thing you can do will get you the camera. Again, light spoilers, I guess, but and then after you've done your first temple, you can get like your last ability, and then that'll trigger sending Robbie back off to Hitano Village, and yeah, you can go do the rest of his stuff over there. And like all of that is tied, much like in the first game, like a lot of those things are just tied to like, hey, like I think if not all of them, most of them are tied to how much of the map have you unlocked. Because it'll be like, all right, come back when you've got 10 sections of the map. You've already done the whole map? All right, well, here's everything.
That's basically what happened to me, yeah.
Yeah, same. Which, like, those are my favorite types of little side quests. And I get a lot of them because I'm, of course, a hoarder. And so, like, I often come up to somebody who's like, hey, can you please, like, get 10 of this thing for me? Wait, do you already have that? Oh, great. Can you give it? All right, thanks. Here's your rupees. I'm like, cool. I didn't have to go do a dang thing for you. You just like, we just made a trade. Excellent. And I got, one more side quest done off my docket. But yeah, I've also, one of the ones that I've gone and done, like, one of the side quests I've done was the, it's like Messages of the Ancient Era or something like that, where it's basically like, in the sky, there's a bunch of like star-shaped sky islands that have like stone tablets of like ancient Hyrulean on them. It's basically like take a picture of each of those and then bring them back to a specific person in Kakariko Village. There's like 12 of them around the world. Knocked out all of them, and so you get some fun like little lore, dump stuff in there, similar to what you get in the tiers, but it's all in like written form. And also the guy isn't great at translating, so there's like a lot of like misspelling.
Yes.
You kind of have to decipher his translations, and I'm like, that's a clever thing. I got to the point where I was definitely skipping through them, but I was like, I'm gonna go back later and just kind of like enjoy like trying to read and understand what some of these are saying at my own pace. So yeah, like they definitely improved on the story of the game, even if I still don't like the way it is provided over the course of like the choose your own order, but you're not even choosing your own order, you're just going to stumble upon an order of story beats. But I like those story beats themselves are, I think, far more interesting and engaging than the first one. I will say the caveat of that is obviously the first game had like the champions as like their own established characters. The equivalent of those in this game are just completely generic nonsense people.
That is accurate.
And it's like that's a disappointing thing. I think there's such a rich history of Legend of Zelda that like you could have made those other characters or references to other characters from past installments or something like that. And so it's disappointing that those are just kind of like no name people for the one or two scenes they pop up in. But yeah, it's still this is enough not my kind of game that I don't like. It'll be in the Game of the Year conversation for me, but I can very easily see some other games that come out this year surpassing it.
Sure, yeah.
But I will also fully understand, much like I fully understand why Breath of the Wild was so many people's and so many sites' Game of the Year back in 2017. They have improved on almost everything from Breath of the Wild, so like it's just a better game, I think, from what I've experienced so far. And so I while like it's highly likely that something like Spider-Man 2, because I'm going to be way more invested in that story and that character and that like combat style and stuff like that, or even like Jedi Survivor might be a more engaging, better game for me because of the things I look for in a game.
Final Fantasy 16 is coming out.
I mean, that is the next one where I'm like, I do need to beat this game before because Final Fantasy is about to come out. But then I'm also like, I've got vacation time or PTO days that I can take from work when that one comes out. So, yeah, there are enough games that are more like up my alley. But currently, especially because it's also been a particularly light year thus far. I can easily see this being in my top 10 come year end, but I don't know if it'll be number one. But I mean, like, compared to Breath of the Wild, which I don't think was anywhere close to like my number one, I'm very pleasantly surprised that this one is clicking with me as much more as it is. How about you? Where are you sitting with this one in terms of like game of the year kind of thoughts so far?
It's a strong contender for me. My turnaround on the Jedi Survivor, like Jedi Fallen Order to Jedi Survivor, like we talked about that during the spoiler cast, like my big turnaround and how much I praise and love Survivor. This is a damn good year for games so far. And that's just with what's come out so far, which hasn't been like, I think the thing about it is we're not like stacked on a lot of entries this year so far, but we have a lot of heavy hitters that have come out and really knocked it out of the park. Gollum game up there. Oh,
yeah. No, neither of us checked that one out.
I saw the previews and I listened to Roger Picorni's review, and that was enough for me to know I'm never touching this game.
Yeah, I will say, I'm looking at my 2017 Game of the Year stuff. Not in my top 10 at all, Breath of the Wild. And in fact, I wrote the deification of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was my fourth biggest disappointment of 2017.
You did give that hot take that time in 2018?
Oh, the hot pepper hot take we did for Extra Life that year.
You were just like, Breath of the Wild durability is bad. And everybody was just like, everybody.
I mean, like,
it was great.
I think the start of it was basically like Breath of the Wild is just fine.
Yes, that was it. That was the start of it. Yeah.
And then as the sweat and stuff grew, I was like, oh cool, yeah, great, open world that has nothing to do in it. Oh great, story that you can find in any order that is barely there, and basically it was like all of the things I've been griping about for years on this game. Like they were all cemented back then. But this one has managed to improve on each of those elements at least. Even if it is like, oh, I had to spend basically the equivalent of like $25 in DLC for the last game to get all of these amiibo cards to just fill myself up with plenty of stuff. I will say one of the things I am especially right now, just in our time that I'm running into, is I'm down to like 20 arrows, and I'm like, I need to restock on those.
Arrows are hard to come by.
I'm constantly trying to like keep myself in like the 120 plus arrow range, and I had a trip down to the depths that definitely wiped me out. and that's with me actively trying to not shoot bright bloom seeds with the arrows and just throwing them, because otherwise you're gonna burn through a lot of arrows doing that. But yeah, it's still like I got into a couple fights where like that was just my tactic, and I'm like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the barrel on my arrows. I gotta like rethink and resituate, which again comes down to like I should be using the Zonai tech more to be supplementing like my ranged combat stuff than I am.
Especially because when you're on vehicles, one of your buddies' your allies' abilities is like basically a free launcher.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely where I'm at. But I mean, for this to be in the Game of the Year conversation compared to the last game is, I mean, for me at least, a huge step up. Still has a lot of the issues that I had with the first game, but they are significantly less intrusive this time around. And I think the biggest reason for that is specifically the density of this world.
Yeah,
like the fact that there is, you can go off in so like obviously, like I think we've probably both done this a ton where it's like, I'm gonna go do this thing. Oh, I see something over there, I'm gonna go do that. And then we get sidetracked for like 2 hours, and then we're like, what was I gonna do? Oh, right. Let me go back to that. There's definitely like plenty of that in this game, and the fact that you can go to pretty much any place and you're going to find something, be it like a treasure chest, be it a guy holding a sign who's going to reward you with some rupees, or caves and the bubble gems and stuff like that. I finally did you ever find the person that you
Not yet,
give
no,
the bubble gems to?
I'm still looking for him. Still looking for him.
So I just came upon him the second time, so I was able to kind of like trade in all of the bubble gems I've been stocking up.
I got like 15 of them, man. I've got a lot of them.
I had like 17. It's basically like it starts much like kind of Hestu, where it's like, all right, I'm going to give you something for 1 bubble gem. I'm going to give you something for 2 bubble gems. I'm going to give you some things for 3 bubble gems. And I'm up to the point where like I need 4 bubble gems to like trade in stuff with him. And so, but yeah, it's even that is like a fun thing where I saw his little shop basically on the horizon, because he's basically like Kilton from the first game, where it's like he's gonna pop up in different places on different nights, and there's probably like a set, he's going to be here, or here kind of thing, but
on his rotation,
like yeah. I'm not like seeking that out. I haven't been doing a lot of like guide looking to investigate stuff. There have been a couple things I've been like, hey, how did you do this? And you kind of give me like enough of a hint that gets me there. But yeah, so for that guy, I was like, oh, cool. He's like, I saw his shop out of the corner of my eye. I was like, I'm gonna go there because I've got stuff to trade into him. And there's a lot of stuff. Like I've probably got half of my side quests are unfinished side quests, but that's just because I haven't turned in the thing I need to turn in. I probably am good to go back there, but I just haven't made my way back to whatever part of the map that's from recently. So yeah, there's definitely plenty to do in this one, and so much of it is like rewarding, even if it's not like a huge in-game reward. There's still like a sense of satisfaction in, oh, I solved that puzzle, or I opened that chest. Like obviously in the shrines, there's like pretty much always like an extra chest that's kind of like the hard mode thing to try and find in there, unless it's like a combat shrine, or if it's one of those where it's just like, hey, you did the thing, so we're just going to give you the blessing. Then it's just like, okay, here's your chest on the way to get your blessing. But like the extra little chests that you can find in those are sometimes very satisfying, and like, how am I going to get to that? Well, I can take that and I can put it here, and there we go. And then there's also, I think, a sense of satisfaction to what you were kind of touching on earlier, when it is like, I don't think this is the like right way to solve this at all, but it worked. And I think there's a joy to that, being like stumped on like what should be the more obvious solution, and finding one that works for you instead. I think there's a lot of satisfaction to that. And I've had a good time finding those kinds of moments in the game. So yeah, shout out to that. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? Obviously, we'll definitely continue to check in, especially as we finish the game and stuff, and maybe we'll do ultimately a spoiler casty kind of thing. But
who's your favorite returning character?
Favorite returning character? I don't know, and that may be in large part because I'm not focusing on side quest stuff yet, I guess. I mean, I guess the answer I will give is Hestu. Anytime I trade him in for more inventory, I never skip the song, because why would you? It's a fun little jaunt.
I skip it every time.
You son of a bitch.
I'm a monster.
You are a beast. But yeah, like I enjoy, like, he's always a fun little so yeah, he's I'll give him as my answer. How about you?
It's Yunobo for me.
Yunobo?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he was definitely fun in his like story stuff. And again, I don't want to dive into like spoiler wise, but his was I think the most interesting of the three I've done so far in terms of like what his journey was going through. Even so though, there were definitely I was like, oh, like they could have pushed this a little bit further in some story stuff, but then I'm like, I have to remember this is a game for kids.
Yeah.
So no, they're not going to explore the trauma that he may have experienced or not. But yeah, he's definitely a fun one.
Also, because he gives a highlight to little Goron kids that are like super adorable, but also like horrifically ugly.
Yeah, I also, I mean, in the vein of the Gorons, I part of this is because of like the voices I do for the characters when I'm playing, and because they're not a lot of them aren't voiced, so I'm reading the text for them when I do the Let's Play stuff. But like, I came up with a voice of Bluto, which I believe is the like boss Goron in the first game that Boo kind of looks up to. So it's fun seeing him pop up, so I could do my my gruff Sam Elliott voice kind of thing when I'm talking and reading his stuff. So yeah, there's definitely like, it is fun seeing these characters pop back up.
Yunobo's always been one of my favorites.
I mean, like Sidon is another, like he was a great character. The internet is far more thirsty than me, it seems, but I enjoy seeing him pop up.
He is just so positive. He just has that like distinct golden retriever energy that just drives a lot of folks wild.
Yeah. And I love that like in this it's like you're unlikely to find him first. You find people that kind of direct you to him first, and they're like, "Oh, you're Sidon's best friend." And it's like, "Oh, I am? Okay, neat."
Like the number of people are like, it's like, "Link, my best friend." It's like Link's a lot of people's best friends, but Link only has one best friend, and it's none of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we also talked about this just as a last little beat. Like, you've been playing through the game with the Japanese voice acting.
Yeah, there's some voice acting. I'm not going to get into too much detail because I have enough respect for them and to not want to be a dick about it. I don't think like this will never get back to him, and like my opinion about their voice work doesn't matter. But like,
you're not a fan of Zelda's voice.
No, I'm not. I think I've heard her in other stuff, and I like her fine. And it's not like her voice is grating. I don't.
It is a very particular affectation.
Yes,
doesn't bother me, but yeah, it was like so. When we talked about that, and I was like, oh, so you're hearing a completely different game.
Yes,
than
I am.
I'm hearing
a completely different vocal cast, which I will say, bit of a downside, as I don't get to hear Matt Mercer as Ganon.
Exactly, that's disappointing, man.
I'm definitely going to be going back to rewatching basically a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
with, like,
go watch the memories with the English cast.
Yeah, voice memories with the memories with the voice English, the English voice cast. And then on top of that, also. Because I'm really curious, because I was watching Andy Cortez's stream, and he was watching one of the memories, and I'm like, oh, that's how Rauru sounds in English. Okay. I'm like, it's so, like, I'm turned off by that, by, like, just the accent that she has, that she uses as for like the royal princess Zelda voice.
You don't like the Hylian dialect is basically what it all comes down to.
Pretty much, it's bad and should be used. People should talk like Gorons. I say this, I don't know how Gorons sound in English, I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, they sound like dude bros. They sound like dude.
So
bros.
You're saying it's perfect? They're perfect in every possible way.
Not at all. They are the bane of my audio existence, probably. But yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's true. They always go, bro.
No, Goro. They
Goro. That's right, Goro.
Yeah. Hey, we got to do this, Goro. I'm like, and so like that is a thing that when my eventual Goron stuff, like when those Let's Plays come out and I'm going through that part of the game, I definitely like slip into that, and I start talking. I'm like, all right, yeah, but let's do this, Goro. Let's take him out. Great job, Yunobu, Goro. Just to get into the role play of it all, I guess.
There you go.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here,
No, I think
Cam?
that was it. I was just like, yeah, what's yours? Sidon is top tier, best friend material,
There you go.
and also
But
boyfriend
Yunobu's
material.
your best boy.
There's something about Yunobo's like him, like the way he shows up in this game and the kind of like attitude he has and everything, and it's just like what happened to my boy, my sweet baby boy?
That is spoiler enough that I wasn't going to call that specific thing out, but yes, that is absolutely why I think he is, of the three so far, the standout, because he is the most changed. But also, I think like his whole vibe and aesthetic is right up our alley. So yeah. All right, well, cool. That is going to do it for this episode of That Nerdy Site Show. Again, as I said, we'll be back with our ongoing thoughts as we continue to play. I imagine
we'll probably do a spoiler cast pretty soon.
By this time next week, Cameron may have finished the game.
I probably will.
We'll see how far I'm able to get. Come Tuesday when I'm able to just kind of have the day off for myself and try and knock out as many Let's Plays as I can. Like it is fun being and I did this with my Breath of the Wild replay too, of like, all right, like when I get back to the story stuff, I am going to be a beast because, as I said, full stamina wheel, 18 hearts, I'm good to go.
Are you finally on a second row of hearts? Because that's been confusing the hell out of me. Not yet.
Nope. 18 hearts, still first row.
What?
Yeah, it makes it so hard to count each time. I'm like, how many do I have?
I gave myself the goal of maxing out a row of hearts before I go back to stamina, and I keep on being like, well, this has to be the next one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not. I'm at 16 hearts now, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, I feel like in the first game, it was like 15 to a row. And so, yeah, it might be 18, it might be 20. We'll see.
That means there's a total of like 36 to 40 hearts. That's insane.
I mean, you couldn't get, like, if you had full stamina in the first game, you couldn't get 2 full rows of hearts.
Maybe they fixed it so that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, maybe they have. There have been non-shrine things that have given me hearts, and I've been like, oh, that's cool. Like just side quests. I guess there was a side quest. I will say that happens underneath the Great Plateau. That was a fun one.
I still got to do the Great Plateau stuff.
Go check out where your journey began in the Room of Resurrection.
There's so much stuff going on in this game, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Like we've both been to Terrytown. It was, it's fun popping up over there, seeing the old, friends from that. Like, I mean, I guess there is a fun, like, other kind of character kind of progression is like, there was a couple, if you do all the Terrytown quest stuff, you basically like, attend a wedding. And it was cool seeing that couple now a few years on and like with a kid of their own kind of thing and having to do some side quest stuff with them.
So it talks about like the culture of like, there's a lot of like something about this game also, the way they've touched on each individual culture and how and why it's important and valid has been a lot of like fun to see. Whether it's Gerudo and like there's a lot of aspects of it also just the different ways. Now that they've reintroduced Ganondorf proper back into the game, it brings to light the Gerudo in a very like, what does that mean for the Gerudo in this game? And you haven't gotten there yet, so obviously no spoilers. But the way they kind of like the ideas they approach about like what these cultures mean. It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
All right. That is going to do it for this episode of That Nerdy Site Show. Thank you for joining me, Cam, to discuss this as we continue our playthrough. You can follow Cameron at RevCabot, 2 B's, 2 T's. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, give a massive shout out to the other Let's Play series that I have going on right now, which is That Nerdy Site Presents Jafo. Trevor's definitely going to remind me after we finish recording that, hey, he needs that episode for this week.
Certainly comes in handy.
Yep. But special shout out to that. I mentioned earlier my kind of turnaround on from Jedi, like with Jedi Survivor, and kind of like where things left off on that. We're in the back half of the episodes that I recorded for Fallen Order, so we're almost done with that. It's been a lot of fun, and go check it out because like my turnaround does happen in Jedi Fallen Order a lot earlier, and I'm already past that point now with the new episodes. So my enjoyment just keeps on increasing, and I'm having just overall a great time.
Nice. Yeah, you follow me at Trevor J. Starkey. While Cameron's Jedi Fallen Order series are going up, I'm doing Tears of the Kingdom Let's Plays on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Basically, we've put our Elden Ring stuff on hold for the time being, in part because Tears of the Kingdom stuff is just probably going to get more traction, more views for us at the moment, but also because we still just don't want to go back to that game. We're also enjoying Tears of the Kingdom right now a lot. So, so no particular desire to have to go back and remember the controls of Elden Ring, which are going to be very different than the controls here of Tears of the Kingdom. This week is going to be basically my journey to the Rito Village and Wind Temple. So I believe Tuesday is going to be me going to the Rito Village, and then Thursday doing the Wind Temple section of the game, my first temple. So stay tuned for that on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Those typically go live 7 a.m. Pacific time. So yeah, check out all of our Let's Plays over there. And then also shout out, we're going to be doing on that D Plus show starting this week. The Indiana Jones movies are coming to Disney Plus on Wednesday, May 31st. So we're going to be doing a month of Indiana Jones, doing Raiders of the Lost Ark all the way up through Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's gonna be a roller coaster of a month, because we also have Temple of Doom in there, which is gonna be a rough one. But yes, so stay tuned for that if you are so inclined on that D Plus show as well, coming out on Fridays. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site, or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you liked what you heard, please remember to rate, review, like, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, ring notification bells, all of that fun stuff. Thank you for listening. As always, stay nerdy and be good to each other.